Did President Trump just confirm that the United States government would be leveraging products like Ripple and XRP? Well, during today's episode, I'm going to show you two key videos that highlight how the US government needs blockchain products in order to bring the United States economy into the digital financial system. And whether it's XRP, XLM, HBAR, Chainlink, or any other major blockchain product, we're going to show you how sitting President Donald Trump told us this is inevitable. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Good Evening Crypto, your favorite crypto news related channel. Just a quick reminder, if you enjoy this content, smash that like button and subscribe as we do an update every single day, 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. Now, to give a little bit of context before we show this President Trump video, the United States is in the process of modernizing payments. And what does that mean? It means moving from a slow analog system that takes days to settle payments into an instant settlement framework. In order to have instant settlement, you need blockchain products. And this is not the opinion of myself. This is the opinion of both the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, and the sitting president, Donald Trump. But with that being said, here's a short video of Donald Trump highlighting how blockchain products are going to be necessary for the United States government to fix our financial system.
Many Americans are unaware that behind the scenes, the technical backbone of the financial system is decades out of date, many years out of date. You know that Paul and others are straightening it out, but payments and money transfers are costly and take days or even weeks to clear. Under this bill, the entire ancient system will be eligible for a 21st century upgrade using the state-of-the-art crypto technology. Who would have thought we would have been saying that?
There you have it, Johnny Crypto. And what did he say there that's so important? He focused on blockchain, but he also said the word cryptocurrencies. You need digital assets like Ethereum, like XRP, like Chainlink in order to evolve in the manner that he is discussing. This process should have been done 5 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, depending on the analyst that you talk to. But because of the anti-crypto administration that we had prior to President Trump, projects like XRP were not only allowed to not operate inside the US, they weren't allowed to expand their business inside the United States. Well, now the United States government has done a complete 180, and he's even acknowledging the fact that it's products like Ripple has created that the banks will need in the digital era of finance. Does this indicate a solution that Ripple could be providing when it comes to Donald Trump announcing the evolution of finance?
He said, we are finally fixing the back end that's ancient in terms of transferring funds. And we've been talking about that for years on this show, that is what's coming. We are finally, we've given the front end a facelift. It looks great. Everybody thinks I can send money tomorrow. I'll tell you what, you try to do a transaction on E-Trade or something, you gotta wait 3 days before you can get your money. So it's just crazy that we're in this day and age, we have to wait 3, 5, 6, 7 days before we can actually access our money from time to time. It doesn't make sense. And so you are going to see the upgrade coming. And the key thing is the cryptocurrency. That is going to enable the ability to, just the way I can send you an email right now within seconds and you have it. That's how, there's no reason why money can't do the same. And my friend, it will be doing it, and it will be doing it very soon.
Well, I think what Donald Trump is hinting at here, Johnny, is what we've said for a very long time. These old antiquated systems should have been upgraded several years ago. And during the Trump administration, what he is calling the most pro-crypto administration in the history of America, it is starting to get done as we speak. And this evidence that I'm going to show our listeners next, you may have never seen before. So if you've never seen this, smash that like button. Now, what am I showing you right now? I am showing you the schedule of sitting President Donald Trump from his first presidential administration, where he met with Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse and David Schwartz privately during a meeting on August 17th at 11 a.m., all the way back in 2018. So that goes to show that he has a long-term understanding of what Ripple has been in the process of creating. We also know that his oldest son, Donald Trump Jr., followed Ripple on X back on February 13th, 2025. I've also highlighted the connection that Eric Trump follows my Twitter profile on Twitter, an XRP-centric channel, Johnny, and he followed me back in October of 2024. Well, I'm going to show you a video of Eric Trump, the person I had just stated, highlighting how this change was forced on the Trump family by the banks. After the Trump family was prosecuted by the sitting administration, they were debanked from Bank of America. They were debanked from Wells Fargo. And Eric Trump is stating this is what pushed his father towards products like Ripple and XRP. Here it is.
Crypto is the fastest growing industry worldwide by far, bar none. Everybody in the world, if you look at the Middle East, if you look at all of Asia, if you look at all of South America, they're all running toward cryptocurrency. I mean, we have a financial system, Brian, that's broken. If you want to send a wire at 4:59 on a Friday afternoon, somebody's not going to get it until, midday Monday. How is our banking system, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, doesn't make any sense whatsoever. If you want to go get a loan, you want to go buy a house, the bank that you've banked with for 25 years will take 120 days to go through a know your customer report to give you your own money, to be able to borrow against your own. Our banking system is broken. And then that same banking system has gone after 50% of the Americans because they decided to wear a hat that says make America great again. We have to change the financial system. We will change the financial system. World Liberty is going to change the financial system. And honestly, I could not be more proud. And we started this company long before my father was elected, long before he won the election, certainly long before he actually got into politics again.
But Johnny, what is he highlighting in this short clip? That the banks are evolving. And the worst thing that could have happened to the anti-crypto army. Exactly what they were preventing is what they created. Now the United States government is dead set on becoming the crypto capital of the world. And it's blockchains like Stellar, like Ripple, that are taking center stage as we speak. And the title of today's episode is Trump Talks Ripple and XRP. That's exactly what I'm going to play for you guys next, as Eric Trump was specifically asked about the growth of Ripple and the developments for XRP. This was his response. Here it is.
Say you're at the dial-up phase of crypto. You are. We have the fastest growing stable coin on earth at World Liberty Financial. Everything is becoming digitized. Everything is becoming tokenized. We're making the big banks irrelevant, and it's an incredibly exciting time.
There is no doubt that crypto, digital money is absolutely something that investors wanted to take part in, and it is growing exponentially, in part because of better regulation, clearer under this administration. But Zach, other than the fact that people feel that it's a way to, I guess, support the Trump family in getting one of these tokens, what are the reasons it would gain value relative to other crypto? Say, for example, XRP, because XRP actually has a function. It is the token of the Ripple blockchain. Ethereum is the token of the Ether network. So what does this do?
Yeah, so
beyond just being, oh, hey, it's the Trump family coin.
So this is the governance token behind USD1. USD1 is our flagship product. Like Eric said, it's the fastest growing stable coin in the world. We're actually, we have way more market cap today than RLUSD. You just mentioned Ripple. Right now, we're blowing their stable coin out of the water, frankly. We have a little over $2.2 billion in market cap. We have over $500 million in volume a day. And right now, we're the second biggest Genius compliant stablecoin.
And here's what I would say, Johnny Krypto. I would say for now, because Ripple just launched their stablecoin 6 months ago. His developments that he's been discussing, they launched their project all the way back at the beginning of 2024. So I think our listeners should highlight the fact that right now we are seeing more change than ever in the United States government. And it's people like Eric Trump, sitting President Donald Trump, or David Sachs, who weren't here just 12 months ago, that are now going to be leading this charge over the next 4 years. But live chat, I would love to hear, ones, if you believe the United States government will be tapping Ripple in order to provide a settlement solution. Twos in chat if you think it does not happen. Now, Johnny, I'm going to provide some more details, but what's your response to these back-to-back videos?
Well, first of all, I got to say, instead of Sherlock Holmes, I'm going to call you Sherlock Abs. I'm very impressed with all this sleuthing you've been doing here. This is great to piece it all together. I mean, listen, we know that Ripple has a history of a connection to this administration. And we know the prior administration was more supporting the old system, right? The system where it's behind the scenes and money's, there's a lot of money to be made on systems that are inefficient, Abs. And, as money's transferring, right? That's money. Those are fees. And those banks don't want to give that up. That's why if everybody's wondering why it's taken so long, you keep saying this should have been done 5 years ago. The problem is there are people with lots of money that don't want to give up that money, and they're going to be losing that money. And so you said it earlier, the banks have to transform and evolve, or they're going to lose. You heard Eric say it right then and there. He goes, we don't need the banking system. We'll play outside the banking system. And that's really what you're seeing happening, Abs. You're seeing, I don't think people understand this. There's the banking system that's either going to adopt crypto and then continue to kind of do their thing, or other companies are going to come up and create a system for a transfer of monetary solutions that aren't going to include banks, like World Liberty Financial he talks about, right? And other things. So the question is, are the banks going to wake up and play quickly, or they're going to fall behind? And new, i.e. banks, if you will, or institutions will be created that will act like banks, that will handle and transfer money instantaneously, efficiently, and they're going to be the winners of it. So it's really, really interesting to see how this battle plays out.
Well, Johnny Krypto, what I think is happening right now is actually a lot of these traditional banks are going to go out and acquire blockchain companies. And we did get a major updates in regards to Ripple and XRP. As earlier this week, we had Western Union joining the RippleNet system in a $500 million acquisition of the company Intermex. Now, this acquisition is seen by many analysts as benefiting both Ripple and the XRP Ledger, as it could expand the use of blockchain-powered payments, particularly in Latin America, where Intermex is a leading player in that corridor. Now, Western Union had also previously conducted trials using Ripple's technology prior to the lawsuit in 2020, Johnny. It was only after that lawsuit was filed that Western Union and MoneyGram decided to drop their products with Ripple and the XRP Ledger. My belief is this: not only are we going to see Western Union begin to use the RippleNet payment system and leverage their on-demand liquidity product, which is facilitated by XRP, I think we're going to see dozens of other companies do the exact same thing now that the lawsuit has officially been resolved in the summer of 2025. Before I show our listeners the breaking details in regards to Ripple's banking connections, give me some of your thoughts. Western Union, an official user of Ripple ODL.
Well, exactly what you said is going to happen. So here's what's happening. Some banks are playing with the technology, like Bank of America, right? And they're testing it out and they're using Ripple and they're using these other blockchain products, right? All different banks. Other banks are going to say, you know what? We don't want to create our own. It's too much work. It's too much time. We're going to acquire. And that's what you're going to see happening. They're going to acquire blockchains, or they're going to adopt those blockchains and use them. That's what's going to lead to the mass adoption that's coming. That's what's going to lead to right now the mass speculation, mad money that's going to come into this space. No reason for it's going to go into stuff that doesn't even, like, you're sitting there wondering, why are they put money in it? It doesn't matter. There is so much money that's going to flood into this space with irrational exuberance that's going to drive prices up, all blockchains for that matter, up. And I think we're getting very, very, very close to that time. It's only going to be a matter of when we actually get that infrastructure bill. I really believe that's the true last linchpin for this to happen. But you have a pro-crypto administration with a family that is so far all in. I mean, listen to Eric and Donald Trump Jr. They are so all in on crypto apps. It's not even funny, with World Liberty Financial and creating their own stablecoin and all these other things. But to me, I believe we will see mass adoption. The banks have to come in, and they're either going to create their own, or they're going to most likely adopt or acquire. So those are the three things I'm looking for. Anyone who tries to create their own is going to kind of be behind the 8 ball right now. So look for more of the adoption or acquisition coming from major banks soon.
And we're going to start breaking down exactly what these connections could mean for the Ripple and XRP community, guys, because I was fortunate enough to interview one of the original employees at Ripple, and that is the employee Bob Way, Johnny Krypto. Now, here's what's really exciting. Bob Way was not only one of the original developers for the company Ripple, he was one of the original developers of the XRP Ledger. And somebody asked him in great detail, when does XRP fly according to Bob Way's vision? These are the answers that were provided. I just want to remind our listeners, if you enjoy this content, you love this investigative journalism, show us some love, smash that like button, and let us know underneath the video, do you believe the US government will be tapping Ripple and XRP? I'm about to provide some more details for our listeners right here. So this listener asked, when does XRP fly according to Bob Way? Here's his response. RLUSD and Ripple's banking license application is key to new value creation. The lawsuit finality is key to smoothing out that process. And here's where it's important. He stated, I'm very bullish over the next 12 months. When you start to see Ripple talking about banking licenses and stablecoin creation in non-US countries, it will quickly become clear how the plan comes together. Now, here's another comment. They said, as in Ripple will become a global bank with banking licenses in most major countries and Ripple stablecoins in most major currencies, all run through the XRP Ledger as a super global neobank? Yes, almost spot on, said Bob Way. The reason is Ripple needs to become a bank because existing banks are too cautious to onboard existing XRPL-based businesses. So what does that mean, Johnny Krypto? If banks are resistant to the XRPL businesses and they're resistant to Ripple becoming a bank, who are Ripple's main customers for the XRPL services once this grand vision takes place? Is it still the banks? Bob Way commented once again, banks are simply the middlemen taking fees. It is the consumers and real world businesses that own all the money and will generate all the value. For XRPL purposes, the banks is just an on and off ramp for customers to swap into fiat out of the XRP ledger. And then the XRP shortcuts the rest of the international money banking system entirely. Now, here's what's funny. He talks about Western Union, two well-known examples of money service businesses, Western Union and MoneyGram, Coinbase and Bitstamp. All of them use a bank, but are not banks themselves. All hold fiat for customers and often transfer fiat from one customer to another. There are not a million operators on Coinbase because the function serves its purpose, Johnny Krypto. The reality is that clients will be using blockchain services whether they know it or not. And companies like Western Union are going to continue to go out and acquire blockchain companies, just like Ripple is doing with TradFi. So as we gear up, we do have our most important topic to cover towards the end of this episode, Johnny Krypto, where we got a major announcement about the US government not buying Bitcoin. So you're going to want to stick around to the end of the episode, guys. But Johnny Krypto, here's my clear analysis and what I take away from this entire Twitter thread. It is what we started with. Ripple is in the process of becoming a global bank with banking licenses in most major countries and Ripple stablecoins in most major currencies, leveraging the XRP Ledger as a super global neobank. Floor is yours.
Yes, and that's really, I love the way Bob laid that out, right? At the end of the day, that's what I was trying to say earlier. The banks are the middlemen. They just collect the fees. We don't necessarily really need them, but they've been so ingrained into our system since the, way over time, Abs, that we think we need a bank. And that's the point. That's what this transformation is happening. And I personally believe partly is that's why Ripple was sued, is because they threatened the bank. Right. I mean, Bob said it. I didn't. It's right there in writing. Right. He said they replace a bank. And so, of course, banks are not going to want to, see them succeed, or they're going to eventually acquire them, which makes total sense for me. So you will see Ripple's technology handling thousands and millions of transactions over time. Go ahead.
One quick comment here is that this also sets the rumors to rest about whether Ripple is building businesses on the XRP Ledger. People are creating rumors about them shifting away and only promoting the stablecoin. The stablecoin is actually onboarding bigger companies into the XRPL, which will make the price go up over a long enough period of time, just to add to your point.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. The stablecoin is probably going to be the foundation of it. That they're going to use. And that's why Ripple was smart to create this stablecoin. But that will run on the ledger and that will draw demand for XRP, because the XRP could be one of those that's transferring over the ledger. So to me, it's going to be really, really exciting to see how this whole thing plays out. But we are just at the beginning of transforming the monetary system. And it is going to be a massive, massive transformation when you think about where we are today with banks. And listen, here's the way to think about it, Abs. Banks were created because we had, I don't have a dollar. We have paper, right? We have paper. So banks are handling, how do I manage paper for paper, people to people, right? Think about this way. Now we're coming up with a system where this is no longer the issue. This is no longer, right? Now it's something like this, right? It's digital that's being handled. Now you need a system that can handle the transformation of this digital asset versus a paper asset. And so that's really what we're seeing is new industries, new businesses, new things will be developed around the management and handling of a digital asset. And that's what's exciting about the whole thing. Now, what's cool about us, we're all here early investing in these digital assets that are going to be driving the world. And whether it's a bank that's going to handle the digital transformation or whether it's Coinbase and other companies, you're going to see every single institution and their mother running on a blockchain someday. There's no question about it. And so for me, diversification, I think, is the key into this space. We're seeing President Trump. We're seeing everybody talk about this. Now, when I say diversification, I mean in different segments. See, we're talking about Ripple and XRP, but I also believe there's a gaming play. I believe there's a tokenization play. I believe there's an AI big data play. There are different plays that our investors can make a lot of money off of by looking at other categories, including payment systems, which, obviously Ripple being, XRP being one of the leading assets there. But that's the way to think about this. We are seeing a transformation of how you handle paper money versus how you handle digital money, and what kind of new institutions are going to arise. And that is going to lead to the new Amazons of the world and the new types of companies and assets, the crypto assets that run off them, I think have massive gains ahead of themselves, like an XRP, an XLM, an HBAR. Those all stand to gain monumental increases because of all these new institutions that are going to grow to then be able to transfer these digital assets. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, Johnny. And here's what I think the truth is, just to summarize what we've talked about during today's episode. We talked about how President Trump is aware of Ripple. He understands the business model. He knows what the XRP Ledger is. His sons were kicked out of the banking system. They have an incentive to grow the digital asset class because they were affected firsthand by how the banking system is run today. So here's my logical conclusion. Whether it's Ripple, whether it's Stellar, whether it's HBAR, whether it's Chainlink, could be Ondo, could be any other blockchain. There's going to be a lot of different names in the live chat, guys. What I believe is that they are being forced to use these products. They waited too long. The previous administration played hardball for far too long. And now it's long overdue that our modern settlement system be instantaneous and have that data correlated with the movement of blockchain. If you're enjoying this content, guys, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the brand new channel. If you're bullish on XRP, you should be subscribed, guys, because we're going to continue to give you updates every single day here on Good Evening Crypto. And Johnny, this is a brand new update we just got this morning out of U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who said the U.S. will not be buying any Bitcoin. Here it is.
You're talking about way above 750 billion. What's the story on gold?
We've got the large gold holding. I doubt we're going to revalue it, but we are going to keep it there, again, as a store of value for the American people. We've also started to get into the 21st century, a Bitcoin strategic reserve. We're not going to be buying that, but we are going to use confiscated assets and continue to build that up. We're going to stop selling that.
You heard it right there, Johnny. They are not going to go out and buy Bitcoin, but the Bitcoin assets that they confiscate, they will not be selling going forward. What's your immediate reaction?
That's interesting, right? That, to me, I mean, they've been somewhat consistent, this administration, saying that they weren't going to buy assets and they were going to hold assets and not sell them. The problem with that is when the next administration comes in, they can just dump them and then that strategic reserve is dead, right? So what's interesting to me, what becomes now even more of importance, is that Loomis bill that's going around in the Senate to create a strategic reserve where they said they would revalue gold and then use that to buy it when it costs anything. But you just heard Scott say, we're not going to revalue gold. So now I'm a little confused. You know, you wonder what's going on over here, Abs. It's very, very interesting. It looks like it's going to be a little bit harder before, you know, I guess until we get that strategic reserve bill passed, then maybe Scott would change his tune. But right now, from the signals you're hearing, it sounds like the U.S. is not going to be investing any money whatsoever into the Bitcoin strategic reserve at this point in time.
And it makes sense to me, Johnny. Like, as a taxpayer, would you want the United States government going out in the peak of this bull market and buying a bunch of Bitcoin? Absolutely not. I think it makes sense. Keep the Bitcoin that you've confiscated, add it to your balance sheets. Any additional Bitcoin that you're able to grab for free, some may call it stealing, we'll call it confiscation. Keep that on your balance sheet, hold it for the long term, and eventually do with that profit what you will. And speaking of profit, guys, there are 19 different XRP ETF applications sitting at the SEC. To break down the price for XRP, Johnny, we're going to discuss the XRP market multiplier at the end of this episode. If you're enjoying this content, smash that like button, throw a 1 in chat if you're bullish on XRP. This is a lead ETF analyst telling the world we could see $5 billion worth of inflows into XRP in just the 4 weeks alone after these products are approved.
Continue to move forward to remain the leader. So, you know, I think that's really, that's really that. And then really the third point here is the demand and the community and the number of people that are following this thing. So, look, I think XRP's $5 billion the first month across the board. So we'll see how that goes. But
$5 billion in the first month across the board, Johnny. And this is something me and you have talked about on air and off air. The market multiplier being more important than ever. And what does this show us? The data and analytics created by Dom and Phil of the Easy A app state that if we saw $5.1 billion worth of new inflows at the order books that exist today, we would be looking at a $60 XRP worth over $3.6 trillion. Now, my estimates have been far lower, right? I've advocated for the fact that we're going to see double digits. I don't think we're going to $60 this bull market, but the data tells us there's a possibility we could get there. And these inflows being turned on in perpetuity starting in 2025 means there's going to be inflows in 26, 27, 28, driving this price chart higher than many people anticipated. What are some of your thoughts? $5 billion in the first 4 weeks. For
well, listen, you got 19 ETFs. We got a high demand, a loyal community. It's, 5 billion and multiplier X factor. Even if you do worst case scenario, the Zach Rector multiplier 125, it still puts you at a decent, low double digit number. So, what are you looking at, $10 or $60, Abs? To me, that the potential to drive money, new money. I've been screaming for this for the longest time. People want to know, why aren't we at $5, $7, $8, $10? Well, you need new money. Well, this is one of the potential massive channels, if you will, like taking a spigot, not a spigot, this is like a fire hose and spraying that son of a bitch everywhere. I think that kind of liquidity coming into the space can really drive us into prices that, we can sit here and make predictions all day. The reality is we've got some multiplier factors. And if you look at lower case to higher case, if you're looking anywhere between 10 and 60, still life-changing numbers, I think, to me, no matter what. To me, it's exciting. And now let's go get those things approved so we can get that money here. Come on. That's what we're waiting for. We need the SEC to get these things done.
Well, Johnny Krypto, we highlighted it all throughout today's episode. Ripple's connection to President Trump, the upgrading of modern settlement systems, and how Ripple, the XRP Ledger, and Stellar fits into this conversation as well, are set to play a major role during the entire Trump administration in completing these objectives and getting it done. If you guys enjoyed this content, smash that like button, subscribe to the brand new channel, and we'll see you all in the next one.